Hello, this is Sarah Tuberty, your host from Disarming Disability. Enjoy the following program on Public House Media.
Hey, this is Lee.
And this is Chelsea.
And we are the host of your new favorite sales podcast, See Jane Sell.
Join us every Thursday for a new episode where we will tackle the realistic world of sales and maybe teach you a thing or two along the way.
You can subscribe to See Jane Sell on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, CastBox, and Spotify. Thanks, and enjoy the following podcast on Public House Media.
Alright everyone, it is No Filter Friday on Public House Media, and we're kind of ratchet this week. I have iced tea in a Chipotle cup, I'm wearing a dress but no bra, and I got pajama pants on and slippers, and I gotta get all this together, and it's really taxing. It's very taxing, I tell you what, because the Oscars are over, award show season is over. I was supposed to be able to spend all this time alone at home, as ugly as I want to be, but no, I still have to go places and put this together and put on a bra. I'm committing to putting on a bra, so I'm going to say it. I'm going to manifest it. It's going to happen. But anyway, so many things have happened since last week's episode, and we're going to talk about them. And I really wanted to I was so jazzed, and I wanted to do this episode earlier in the week, and I was like, no, I'm going to do it live. Wait, calm down. And then I have too many things to do, and now I can't do it live, which makes me very, very, very sad. And I don't want that to be a thing. So we're going to do this pre-taped, to the point, slapping hoes up, making things happen episode, basically. So what the idea here is that we have a couple things to cover. Oscar Madness, this event that I went to this evening with Mary Wilson, the founding woman of the Supremes, who was awesome. She was so cool. And then this letter that Emma Thompson put out. And then who else? It was crazy. Most of the meat of this is going to be Oscar stuff, but I feel like it all just goes together. It's also juicy. It's also, ratchetly delicious. And that's what we do around here. We do ratchet deliciousness. I hope this sounds okay. For my sound engineer, David Bobke, I hope it sounds okay. I'm going to really hope and pray that that's the case. And if it's not, I'm really, really, really sorry. So I'm going to apologize in advance. Any hoozles. Hair is done. I have to do my makeup while we do this. So, speed round. It's speed round, No Filter Friday. Okay, so what had happened was, we're going to do this out of order. We're going to talk about Mary Wilson first. So, I went to an evening with Mary Wilson, and it was super, super, super fun. I've started getting, because of the show, I've started getting press credentials, and some other people on the network have also been getting press credentials to go cover events for their show. So that's how I ended up there at the Paley Center. They were doing a African American History Month thing for February for African Americans' contribution to film, television, etc. The Paley Fest is all television centered, basically. So I went and I saw her. She talked for an hour and she sang a little bit, and she brought one of her gowns from way back in the day that was made by Bob Mackie. So it was this long velvet situation. It had these big giant sleeves that were all beaded and embroidered and sparkling. It was awesome. And she said that the Supremes used to joke that little old ladies went blind beating their gowns because they were just so Jeffree Star level highlighter blinding, which I think is cool. I think that is an awesome thing to have, to look back on and to keep it going. She's moving to Vegas, I guess. She's going through all of her stuff. Anyway, so when I got there, they kind of started playing, their performances through the decades. They're performing on TV, together through the, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, up to now. It was a long time. It's one thing to have, a long career. It's another thing to have a career that's, spanned multiple several decades, which I thought was interesting. But my favorite thing that she talked about, among many things, was how when she founded the group, via Motown through, Hitsville, USA, they were some of the first African American people on television. And back then, she said that there were no lady executives or lady employees in entertainment at all. Dealing with networks, labels, all that stuff was all men, and they had to fight as a group to be what they were. And once it took off for them, it took off for them, but they still had to keep, fighting for their right to sing. And she's been doing some stuff at like a state government level, passing bills and things like that to help entertainers from back then, because of the next thing that she wants to do is reform a federal law that was some recording law that pre-1972 these people don't end up with any residuals, which is kind of crazy. But it happens. So listening to a lady who's been in the business for forever and ever and ever, basically, talk about what it was like for them as a girl group, is one of the first, girl groups that's still going today, about how they had to make their careers and do their things and perform and convince men to let them on television, convince men to give them record deals and tours and all this stuff. I'm doing my makeup. I'm sorry, podcast people. You have to listen to this nonsense. Anyway, so I thought that was fun. I thought that was really, really interesting. And I'm really interested to see what she's going to do moving forward, because she's in her 70s, and she said that she would totally be down to do more music and sing again with Diana Ross and all those folks that she used to sing with. So that was super, super fun. Covering Emma Thompson's letter, we're going to get into this for the hottest of seconds. Basically, Emma Thompson has left a movie called Luck that Skydance Entertainment is doing because they just hired John Lassiter, who has been recently discharged from Disney Pixar because he's been sexually harassing female employees for decades, basically. And essentially, they investigated, he was put on unpaid leave, and, he's getting the boot. So Skydance snapped him up real quick, and Emma Thompson was like, no, we're not doing all this. So she wrote this open letter. And listen, I'm not the biggest Emma Thompson fan in the world, if I'm being totally honest, but she brought up some really good points in that he's being given a quote-unquote second chance. And it's basically at the expense of everybody else, because he was put on paid leave to be investigated for the things that he's been doing forever. And then he's going to get paid again to go... He's getting paid for his second chance at Skydance, and he's going to try to learn how to respect female employees. And one thing that really, if you want to go read the letter. It's very interesting. But what stuck out to me the most is that she said that the people that are now working at Skydance and they have to work with this dude, she brought up a really great point in that, well, these people that are working for them, they don't have a choice. Like, they either have to lose their jobs or they have to work with this person who may or may not continue on his decades-long pattern of behavior, or they can stick it out while he learns how to respect female employees. And my favorite thing about that was she was like, well, as a female employee, like, how do you know if this person actually respects what you're doing, in your job, or you're just a guinea pig. He's just practicing how to maybe figure out one day how to respect female employees. And I thought that was a really, really good point to make up. But to make in this, to make in this letter, which is food for thought, I think. And that was, I hope it doesn't just stop with that letter. I hope there's some real conversation and actions that are taken from that situation because, and not just with John Lassiter, but with other people that have been investigated and either left that company, were booted from that company, moved over to another company, or on a different movie, or on a different TV show, or blah, 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 blah. Like, how that's gonna, how those poor guinea pigs that were just, minding their own business and now they have to go deal with this person or they can lose their job is really ridiculous. Like, how many chances do we have to give people? My friend Rod, who I adore, says that whoever you are at 40 is who you are. That's your personality. Point blank, period, the end of story. And it's true. Like, if you haven't figured it out by 40, you're not going to figure it out. So, now that Emma Thompson's covered, let's talk about the Oscars. Okay, so this is my Oscar experience, not, necessarily what happened out in the world. But we went to the Remy Martin party at this place called District, and it was really, really fun. And, this run-of-the-mill Oscar party, red carpet, this big, tended thing, the whole deal. And it was gorgeous, and while we were getting up on the carpet, I saw someone, and I was like, oh, stop. There's no way this is happening. So I was like, oh. This is it. So I see this woman get up on the carpet in front of us, and it's Angie Everhart, who, if you'll remember one of my first episodes of No Filter Friday, I talked about how when Steven does his radio promo for his show, that he was on the radio doing Frosty, Heidi, and Frank, like he normally does. And they get a phone call, and it's Angie Everhart talking about how Harvey Weinstein trapped her in a stateroom on the yacht that she was staying on during Cannes and jerked off on the floor in front of her. So that's the story that she told on the radio station that she called into. Her and Steven had never actually met. This was just kind of a fluke thing that happened on Oscar night. So we end up talking to her because he's like, hey, like, I was on the radio when you called in. Like, that's me. That's who we were talking to. So they're talking, and she's like, yeah. She's like, I don't regret it, but it was a spur of the moment thing. She didn't think about it at all. She just did it. And then everybody, of course, wanted to interview her, and she only did 2 interviews, and that was that. But she said that wasn't really, like, it was the whole story of that incident, but it wasn't like her whole interaction with them. She wouldn't tell me who owned the yacht, but she said it was, the person that owns the yacht is a good dude. And that when she told him, he was like, just livid, I guess, that Harvey got on his boat and did this to someone. And that reiterated what I basically said in that show, that, like, you're in another country. What are you going to do? And you're in the water. You weren't even on land. So then things get wonky legally there too. What was anybody going to do, So we had these conversations about, and she seemed like, people are so, wishy-washy on, like, how they want to do stuff or tell their story. They want to tell you, but they don't want to tell you, and they don't want to get certain people involved. But at the same time, it's like pertinent details to the conversation. And we just let her talk, basically. But, she was a really interesting person to talk to, and it just, tales from Oscar night, yo. But we had a long conversation about Harvey and what he's been doing and all this, over the years, and other people too. So she was with another lady that was there, and she talked about how, not Angie, this other woman that Angie was with, talked about how, like, Bill Cosby, like, basically groomed her in his house. Like, she would come take, like, acting lessons from her or whatever. And he would, like, grope her in Bill Cosby's house with his wife and kids at home, which is Looney Tunes. And I asked her, because this is always my thing, is, like, I think some people kind of want to get caught, or they have this thing where it makes them get off even more, thinking that somebody else is over there and there's nothing you can do about it, and I can do whatever I want, blah, 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 blah. And I asked her about that, and she's like, no, I just think he was so used to doing these things to literally everyone that it was just par for the course for him. That's what he did all the time. And it was basically, it didn't even like feel like naughty to him. He was just like, this is how I roll. This is how I do things. Squeeze, squeeze, smush, mush, basically. Which was interesting. And she was like, if I was going to tell, if I was going to write a book, I'd be dragging everyone. Everyone's getting called to the carpet, So, although definitely not the most fun conversation to have, it was definitely eye-opening and not at all how I thought my Oscar Sunday was going to go. So, if you ever run into Angie Everhart, ask her about it. Ask her about the yacht situation, because it's definitely worth talking to her about. Especially if you're one of these people that are skeptical about the Me Too movement at all. Like, definitely. If you see any of these people out on the street or in a Starbucks or something, go ask them, because they're far more prone to tell you in person than in an interview. And she said that she's basically never really going to talk about it publicly again, which I understand, but at the same time, I wish people would talk about it more, because the more people that bring noise to it, that, make it, that fan the flames, basically, you can't go after everybody, And like, once the floodgates open on one person, here comes all these people, because if I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. Perpetrators never have one victim. It's always multiples, because as soon as they get away with it, they go do it again and again and again and again and again. So once you kick open that door, there's going to be a line of people coming afterwards, after you be like, hey, this happened to me too. And it's, again, #MeToo. That's where we got, this phrase from. So with that being said, I think you should, especially if you're a skeptic, try to talk to one of these people that, has a story, and be open-minded and let them tell you things, because it's their experience and it will help you understand the situation. But it was really Oscar night. Oh, goodness. That's not at all what I thought was going to happen. Not at all. Like, never in a million years did I think that she wasn't on the tip sheet. Like, because, when you get invited to these things, like, oh, so-and-so's coming, so-and-so's coming, and then you kind of ask around beforehand, like, oh, what party are you guys going to? What party are you guys going to? Blah, 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 blah. And then I never heard or seen anything about it. So she was definitely a very, very welcome surprise, I would say. Very happy to see her. And the lady that she was with, who isn't someone, that's a name, but is somebody who's been in business for a very long time, from what I can tell. But besides that, like, Oscar night was super, super, super fun. The gift bag was amazing. We got tons of Remy. The dance floor was crazy. My friend Joy ended up coming, and she had friends that she brought, so we ended up kicking around, and it was just so much fun. It's one of the most fun Oscars I think we've had ever, and I really, although my dress was so tight, it was crazy. I had so much fun wearing it, because it was really titty-rific, like old school, like 17th century, 18th century, like, just boobs up to here, it was ridiculous. So go Google those pictures, or go on my Instagram and go see them, because they're hilarious. And I had this really cool T-Rex necklace on. It was like a T-Rex skeleton, and like his head was over here, and his like across my collarbone, and his tail was on the other side, and he was like, T-Rex. It was great. So I'm going to finish getting myself together, because I can't just roll out with one eye like this. And I will see you all next week. And I'm still thinking about doing a bonus episode. I'm still really, really contemplating it. I have to get through this weekend of craziness first. And then hopefully people will stop inviting me to things, and I can sit down, be as ugly as I want to be, and, lurk on the internet and see who's around and who wants to talk. So I will see you all next week. Share the broadcast, share the podcast. You can get it wherever podcasts are available. Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Spreaker, Stitcher, all these places. listen, the list goes on and on. And then check out other shows on Public House Media, like Coffee with Keith and Katie, and Crowned and Dangerous, and The Press Row, and The Cheap Seats, Verse of the Day, all those things. So do me a favor, hit share, #NoFilterFriday on Public House Media, and I will see you all next week, or maybe sooner. Maybe I'll do a bonus episode. Later, kids.